Hi there. In this video, we're going to be exploring the Content tab within the Bee Editor. Okay, so from our previous videos, we have started the YSite email template blue-purple color scheme. So we're going to continue editing this, and we're going to be just focusing on the Content tab. We've already started building this out using the Rows tab and the Settings tab, but now we're going to actually start putting some content in place. Also remember, we're using this email as our, we're going to be matching this email with the Bee Editor. We're just going to be kind of duplicating this, but this time using the Bee Editor. So, alright, well let's start by top down. So we'll be putting in the logo as well as some of the text. So, first off, we need to put this image in place. So, we're going to be using the Content tab, and as you can see, we have these different elements that we can use. So we have a text area, image, button, HTML, social, and divider. So, in this case, we're just going to be putting in an image. So we're going to drag and drop the image here. So it says drag it here, and it's just within this content area, and that's what we want. So now we have this little image browser. So we're going to click on Browse. And right now our folder is empty. However, what we're going to do is we're going to upload that image. So we're just going to have this logo right here, and we're going to upload it. Alright, and there we go. So now we're just going to click Insert. So now the logo's in place. Alright, and as you can see, the logo's a little bit bigger than the original. So let's click on this, and now we get a bunch of content properties. So we have things like width of the image, alignment of the image, link for that image and applying effects and things like that, alternate text, the action for the image, so what happens when you actually click on the image, where does it take you, and then as well as spacing options in terms of padding. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to first make it a little bit smaller. So right now it's set to auto width, so that means it's just going to take up the full area. So we're going to turn that off, and we're going to specify a percentage. So let's say we're going to make this about 50%. Okay. Alright, and then also we want to make this kind of left aligned. You can see there it's a little bit more left aligned. So we're going to say left aligned there. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of padding on this image. So we're going to turn on the padding. Actually, the more options for the padding, so that way we can just specify some on the top and bottom and left. So we'll give it a little bit of top padding, let's say about, I don't know, maybe 10 pixels. And same thing for the bottom. Okay. Alright. And actually, just kind of looking at this a little bit, so I think all we actually really need is this left padding, because as you can see, we already have that padding that's on the row itself. You can see here we have top and bottom padding, and so we can actually even apply padding to the actual row. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's put a little bit of padding on the left, and let's say it's 10 pixels of padding on that. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now that image is in place, and now we're going to put some content in on the right hand side. First off, we're going to put the social media icons in. Okay, so now we're going to click on the Content tab to bring it back to the home area. And so now we're going to choose social. And we're going to put these, we're going to drag that here, and that's going to bring up the social icons. So now we can click on this and specify the settings for each of these. So first off, we can see that these don't look like the same icons. These ones are gray, and so let's go ahead and change the style. All we have to do is click this drop down, and we can change the style of these. And we have a bunch of these to choose from. So in this case, I think this probably fits the best. So let's change that style there. Alright, and as you can see, we currently only have Facebook and Twitter turned on there, so we're going to keep those as well. So we're going to delete Instagram and LinkedIn. Alright, and then we can also from here drag and drop these to reorder them. As you can see there, it kind of changes the positioning. Okay, and then as well, we can also put in the link to Facebook here. So all you would do is copy and paste your Facebook link and your Twitter link, and you'd be all set. You can also turn on more options to give you specify some alternate text and a name for the actual icon. So this would be something like, the name of your YMCA, like YMCA name here, and then Facebook. Okay. Alright, and then as well, if you have more icons that you need to include, you can just click Add a New Icon, and then from there you can find your appropriate icon inside of these tabs. So we have Social Follow, Social Share, and other icons. So any of those you'll be able to use. Okay. And then we're going to align this to the right. Okay, there's that, and then I think that looks good. So now that we have that in place, we can move on. However, as you can see here, there's just one other thing other than the padding which we're getting a little bit accustomed to. We have icon spacing. So icon spacing is just the space in between the actual icons themselves. So if we say 20 pixels, you can see that the spacing between the icons is actually greater. So we'll leave that set to 5. Alright, and now we need to put the kind of the phone number and email in place. Okay, so now we're going to put a text box in here. So we're going to drag and drop a text box underneath the social icons. Alright, now it has a little bit of placeholder text in here. I'm a new text box ready for your content. And so now we can put in our phone number and the email address. So let's just type in here. We can do like, just an example, like 123 123 1234, and then the email is, let's just say it's example@ymca.com. Alright, there's that, and now let's just align this text. So all we have to do is highlight it, and then we have some options up here. And so from here we can just control this like we would any other editor. We have some bold options, we have font options, pixel options, as well as list and alignment. So we're just going to position this to the left, or position this to the right, and then we're going to make this font really big and blue. So I have this color picker open here, and so we're going to choose the color for this. So we're just going to take this eyedropper and grab the coloring, and now we can specify that text background, or that text color. And we can click on custom and specify a hexadecimal there. Okay, so there's that. And now let's also make this bold and a little bit bigger. So we'll make this, let's say, maybe 20 pixels, about right. Okay. And now you can see that this is actually pushing down a little bit. We can, we have a lot of extra spacing here. We have a lot of space in between those two icons, and so we need to remove some of those spacing. So let's go ahead and first remove the spacing around these images. Okay, so currently there's 10 pixels of padding on those, so let's just remove all of that. And actually, let's leave the padding on the right hand side, but just remove it on the top and bottom. Okay, there we go. And now let's click into this content area, and we'll also change the padding so that way we don't have it on the bottom. And let's see here, let's just specify 5 pixels for the top, and we'll leave the left and right set to 10. Okay. Alright, so there's that. Now we can put in the name of the YMCA right here, so let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to be putting in another text box, and we'll say this is, your YMCA name here. And we'll make this bold, and we'll make this a white color. Okay, and we'll make this a much larger font. Okay, and there's that. And then let's remove this extra padding since we've already applied the padding. As you can see, there's a little bit of spacing around this. Okay. All right, and actually let's specify a little bit more spacing around this. Let's say maybe like 15 pixels instead of 10. Alright, so there's that. Now let's put the image in place. So we're going to use the image box again, and so we're going to drag that here, and so that's going to allow us to insert that kind of hero graphic that's right here. Okay, so now we're just going to click Browse, and from here we're going to insert the hero image. So we're just going to drag that onto this, and then we'll click Insert. Alright, and so now the image is in place, and so this looks good. All we have here is it's set to auto width, so it's going to take up the full width of the box, which is perfect. And we don't have any padding, so this is what we want. Alright, so now we have the content area, and so this is an area that we want for you guys to be able to edit whenever you want. So depending on the campaign, you may want to change out your content, and so we're going to be getting into some merge tags inside of text boxes. So we're going to click on the text area, and we're going to put a text box in place. Alright, and so let's also remove the padding a little bit. Yep, and actually we could probably add a little bit of padding to the top and bottom of this, because currently we only have 10, so let's just say 15. I think that looks a little bit better. And then now we can put in a merge tag. So a merge tag will allow us to have a variable content area for text. So we'll click on merge tags, and now we have all these different tags that we can put in place for content. So we have this content tag, and this is going to be what you can use to edit whenever you're editing your specific campaign. So and now let's also make sure to change the font size for this. So we'll say this is maybe like 13 pixels, just a little bit bigger there, and that should be good. Okay. Actually, maybe just a tad bigger. Let's go with 14. Yeah, that looks nicer. Okay, now let's go ahead and get into the footer here. So we're going to be putting in place the logo as well as the address information, some of the contact information. So now we're going to be putting in another image. So we're going to use this image area, and we're going to again click Browse, and this time we're going to upload a white logo. And once we've done that, we'll click Insert. There we go. And that looks good. All we have to do here, I think, is left align that. Okay. Alright, and now let's also put in place a content area for the text. There's that. And so now we can say, we can make this have some of the contact information like YMCA name here, and then we can put in like a phone number, and let's say also an address, so we can say like 123 Main Street, um, Springfield, Ohio. One, two, three, four, five. All right, and then let's also put like a, another email address maybe. All right, so now they have our contact information. So we'll just make this text a different color. So we'll say this is going to be a white, and we'll make this a little bit larger. We'll make this 14 point there. We'll make the title of this, the name of the YMCA, bold. All right, and I think that looks good. Now let's also just remove a little bit of that padding there. We don't need as much. Okay. And then last thing, I think we also should put a little bit of padding, additional padding at the top. So let's specify 15 and 15 there. I think that looks a little bit better. And now lastly, we're going to be putting in place the unsubscribe. So now we're going to be using a text area, and we're going to put that in place. Alright, and now we're going to be grabbing that blue color. Okay, there's that. And so now all we have to do is grab that color and apply it. Also, and one thing that we can do also for text color, we don't have to rely on using this drop down right here. We can also just specify it right here. So we can just put that color in, and that will allow us to just change the color right here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is copy this text. So we're just going to copy this and paste it in. So now we just need to link the unsubscribe. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to be using a merge tag again, and we're going to be using the manage subscriptions URL. And so we've put that in place, but now we're just going to copy this, or actually cut it, so that way we can use that as a link. So what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight unsubscribe. We're going to click the link button, and then in the URL field, we're just going to paste in the manage subscriptions URL, and we're going to click OK, and that's it. Okay, all right, so now we have our email template, and it's all ready. So now a couple other things in here that I just want to mention before we close out. There's a couple of things that we didn't touch on, such as divider, button, and HTML. So let's talk about these a little bit. So button is going to be just that. It's just going to be a button. So we can drag that below that text area, and that's going to create just a simple button. And we can click into this and specify things like the URL for the button, the styling, such as how wide the button is. We can make it a percentage width like this, or we can just say let's make it auto, so that way it just takes up a nice amount of space for however much text there is, as well as the color, background color, the text color for the button, the alignment, the line height if it's to make it a little bit smaller, and those types of things. Border radius if you want to be more of a curved button like this, you can do that. You can give it a little bit of spacing around the text compared to the edge of the button there. So if we give this a little bit more top or bottom, you can see kind of what happens there. So I'd recommend doing just something like 20 and maybe 5. I think that looks nice. And then a border. So we talked about borders. This is just going to be allow you to apply a either a transparent or a colored border. You can see here what that kind of looks like, as well as some more padding options. So this is going to be padding around the edges of the button, so around here. Okay, So I'm going to delete this now. Alright, so divider now, let's talk about this a little bit. So divider is pretty simple, it's just a line, but there's just a few settings in here, so you can control obviously the style of that line, the thickness, the color, those types of things, the width of it. So currently it's set to 100%, but you can make this, different percentages of that. Currently there's also padding around this, so we can turn all the padding off. We can just say 0, and that's going to make it kind of flush with that content area. Alright, and then lastly, you have the ability to control the alignment. So if this was like, 80%, you can make this left, center, or right aligned. Okay, so I'll delete this as well. And then lastly, we have a HTML area. So this is just simply an area where you can put in raw HTML. I recommend not using this because this is going to allow you to put in just plain HTML. This is going to be a very advanced option, but you have the ability to control what shows up on the desktop version as well as the mobile version. And so, you can make some custom things with this, but that's more of a kind of an advanced user area. So I would recommend sticking to these 5. Okay? Alright, let us know if you have any other questions. We'll be happy to help. Thanks.